You are now listening to Effin Radio.
And welcome to F&B Radio. My name is Lindsay Collins, and I am your host. It's just me today, but I'm back. Welcome to the show that's loosely based about food, kind of in Charleston, but it's more about what I am just thinking about. It's a stream of consciousness show. This happens. I've been consulting with a lot of my clients who all have podcasts. That's my day job, as I help other people create their podcasts. While I'm talking about that, if you need someone to produce your podcast, hit me up. It'll sound just like this, except it'll be you talking instead of me. But I always try to help people zero in on what the style of their show is. And in true, I don't know, the cobbler's kids fashion, I don't take any of my own advice. I'm always pick a topic, let people know what they're getting into, and then I come on here and just talk about who the fuck knows what I'm talking about on here. But you know what? It always ties back to food, even if it's just one time, just for 1 second. Even if I just barely talk about something I ate, or even just mention that I do eat, I feel like it checks that box. And I'm so grateful that you're here. Every single week, you guys just continue to blow me away with your feedback and your kind comments. And thank you for sharing the show. There's been just a lot of new listeners lately who have been reaching out and that are, that understand what we do here, that understand that it's a stream of consciousness show about nothing. But some of the best things in life appear to be about nothing, but they're actually about a whole lot. What have I been doing this week? I want to start with, I'm trying to do 3 things that I am going to do this weekend since it's Friday, but I'm going to kind of cheat the system because there's things that I did last weekend that were extremely fun. And then there's things that I did this week because my kids are for the first time at a summer camp in Johns Island. So I'm going to recap 3 places that I want to go or have been this weekend and some stuff that I made. How about that? We'll just kick it right off with the stuff that you really want. And then if you want to opt out later to, being a fly on the wall inside of my brain, that's up to you. First up, Island Provisions. So out on Johns Island, Johns Island is seductive. Okay. There's just something about Johns Island. When you get over that bridge, you're like, man, fuck Charleston. And then, later you rethink that and you apologize and you say, no, I'm just kidding. I don't think I wanted to say it that way. But Johns Island is extremely seductive to people like me who want to disappear into the woods, who want to own an old farmhouse on some acreage in one of the most beautiful places you'll ever see. I don't want to talk about it so much that then people move there and then buy the real estate that I can't afford to buy. It's already very expensive. I wouldn't call it an undiscovered gem by any means, but every time I go to Johns Island, I find something else to love. And it's changing and developing so much that there's cool places like Island Provisions, which is James, who Grotzinger. I always feel like I'm saying his name wrong, but I'm 100,000% sure that's how you say it. Grotzinger. If I'm wrong, I apologize. But I do adore you, and I think that Island Provisions is such a welcome addition to the Johns Island area. It's been there for over 1.5 years, but that's how much I go to Johns Island. So it kind of opened right in the middle of the pandemic. But they're fucking killing it. It's this little dreamy coffee shop / takeaway place where you can buy everything from CBD gummies on the counter, not even CBD, THC, Delta 8 gummies. I'm a fan. To cool wines, you can buy Life Raft treats. You can buy so many different local purveyors, blender bombs, Bull's Bay sea salt, everything, red clay hot sauce, all of these beautiful products that are made in South Carolina, specifically Charleston. All under one roof. You can get Dahlia Sophia kombucha. You can just get, it's just like a treasure trove of takeaway stuff. And then they also make sandwiches. They have pastries, salads, a lunch menu, a breakfast menu. Like it's so good. We've finally like got to go. And then after that, it was like our new post camp drop off hang. Jeremy and I have been full on regulars there for the rest of the week because it's just so dreamy and everything's delicious. And it's just cool. It's cool to see people kind of making Johns Island not the middle of nowhere, because there's always been great places to eat, hidden gems. I mean, amazing restaurants that have been there absolutely killing it for years. Wild Olive is out there. I mean, Tattooed Moose, Kinfolk. There's so many great places already. So I'm not trying to say like, finally a place for someone to eat. Like there's amazing restaurants out in Johns Island, but it's a big area. And so I just love to see more and more cool places popping up out there. We're going to try to have the lovely ladies from Island Provisions on because they're opening a new store downtown. I think in, sometime this summer or at the end of the summer. So stay tuned for that. We're going to hopefully have them on the show really soon. But that was one place that I went that I absolutely adored. It was just a really, really fun, delicious, cool hang. Everybody on John's Island is like, do you live on the island? That's how they talk to you. That's what they say. It doesn't matter. Like they're there. It's just a very welcoming vibe. People really take pride in living on John's Island, as they should. It's a gorgeous place. I'm aspiring to live there someday. But for now, I'll be here in North Charleston, just unfortunately being 10 minutes from downtown. Just kidding. Obviously that's a joke. And being where we live is great because it is close to things, but I can definitely see myself eventually relocating to a place like John's Island because it's just a dream. And my favorite farmer's market is out there. And it's just, it's an absolutely beautiful place. And if you haven't checked out Island Provisions, go see them. You will just be like, wow, everything I've ever wanted, right in one little bright, happy, beautiful, breezy island shop. All right, that's one place. I'll think of more places in a minute. Oh, actually, no, I just thought of one. Man, sometimes your brain is there for you, even if it's like a little bit delayed. Martin's Barbecue. We went there, finally, on James Island, a different man's name in front of an island. I don't know how I missed it other than I don't live anywhere near James Island. And when I do go, it's usually for work or like play. And it's the same couple of places that I go. I really just kind of go to Bar George and no, there's a million places that are great there. Cutico's there. But yeah, I finally stopped in there because I was leaving work and it was right in front of me and I was so hungry and it just called me from the side of the road. I was like, barbecue. And I have to be, as a quote unquote Southerner, I have to be in the mood for barbecue. Like I don't just crave it all the time. Because where I lived in South Carolina, kind of the only restaurants that there are that aren't chains are barbecue restaurants. So you're sort of inundated. A lot of them are now closing, which is really sad. And so it's not the same situation as when I grew up. But when I grew up, it was kind of every little town had a banging barbecue spot. So that was sort of the weekend vibe. And I feel like I have eaten so much barbecue in my life that sometimes I'm like, am I barbecued out? Do I feel like barbecue? Is that something sometimes when it's hot, I don't want the meat sweats, but really I'm just there for the sides. But in this particular situation, I was starving and I went in there and what a treat. What a fucking treat. I mean, no surprise. Everyone says it's awesome. I'm an idiot and don't get to go out as much as people think I do. I think people think that I spend every waking hour, patronizing other people's establishments, but I don't because A, that's expensive, and B, I'm like busy and I cook a lot at home. So I really actually end up cooking more at home than I do eating out. So yeah, I finally literally made it there and was like, man, this place fucking rules. So good. Everything that we had was stand out. I loved the sides. I mean, that's kind of how I do with barbecue. Like I do enjoy the meat, obviously, but I'm like everyone, a side hustle is my favorite hustle. And it's the mac and cheese, the baked beans, whatever type of sides. And I think they're based originally out of Nashville, if I'm not mistaken. So their sides do vary a little bit. And that's always a fun kind of twist because I did not see collards on their menu. And that's kind of more of a deep South side vibe, but you definitely get the baked beans, that more Nashville style of barbecue. So it was fun to eat there. It was delicious. My kids loved it. I ordered chicken fingers for the kids and then ended up being like, wow, these chicken fingers are aggressively peppered in the best way. Like they had so much pepper in the batter. I was like, is y'all's grease dirty? But then I was like, no, this is all by design and this is fucking amazing. So that was one place that I went that was really delicious. I'm going to think of another one in a minute, but right now I want to talk about pizza. I got my parents a pizza oven. Actually, my sisters and I all sort of pitched in and got my parents an Uni pizza oven for their pool house, which they just finished. And it is so fun. First of all, it was amazing. We made some really delicious pizzas, but we were a little confused. And by we, I mean Jeremy. We almost burned the shed down. So the whole point of getting the pizza oven was to be like, congratulations, the like cook shed by the pool house. It's like a little outdoor kitchen with a sink and a big stainless work table and a cool bar. It's just a really cool vibe. They've got a little tiny schmeg fridge out there and, one of those giant, we call it the hot dogler, but it's the thing that you cook hot dogs on, like country club style or gas station style, where they just kind of turn around like slowly over these little heated rods. It's cute as shit. It's so fun. And so I'm like, a pizza oven would be the perfect little like crown jewel to have something to cook on besides the grill, or the hot dogler. And we like put the kids to bed and we're like, all right, we'll season it, meaning we'll give it like one big burn before you actually cook in it. So you cook off all the chemicals that are on the stone, which I'm like, why are there so many chemicals on the stone? What are you guys doing? What does it just take an acid bath in, harmful chemicals before you put it in the package? I don't understand. But either way, it told us to do that. So I was like, all right, we'll have a little hang by the pool after the kids go to bed. And we're all like, chilling out there, lighting it up. It starts up. It's doing great. It's a partially covered shed. It's not a closed in cook shed by any means. Like it's open on 3 of the 4 sides. So it's kind of like a little, like, would you say a lean-to? Is that, it feels like it's a lean-to. Like in my mind, when people say lean-to, I'm like, it's kind of like that, but way nicer. And we start putting some of the pellets in because we got the one that burns the wood pellets. And I'm like, cool. Okay, there it goes. We got the starter thing in there. It's making that really beautiful, flame that just kind of licks the top of the pizza oven. It's like, it's just real sweet. And you're like, man, this is easy. We can do this. And then it starts to kind of go out and it gets kind of smoky. So we're like, all right, must need, more fuel for the fire. And then Jeremy, he swears he saw a video like this, but I have a conspiracy theory that Uni's competitors are putting out bogus YouTube videos showing how to basically burn down your oven so that you'll buy their oven instead of the Uni. But that's a whole nother ball of wax. Jeremy swears he saw this video where you just take a quart container of pellets, which is a quart container is 4 cups of pellets. And you just put it in, you just fill up the stack with pellets. And so we're doing that. He's loading it in. I'm like, all right, cool. That was easy. And then I'm like, man, it's getting kind of hot. Like little tiny, like I wouldn't call them flames, but I would call them like phantom flames, like the idea of a flame start kind of just like popping out the top of this really tall chimney. That's still under the cook shed that's just been finished that my father has been working on for the last 2 years of his life, like blood, sweat, and tears to build this beautiful building with an outdoor shower and a bathroom. Like it's plumbed. It's just taken, he has a piece of cedar that is the bar that is, some ancient recovered piece of wood that he's made into this beautiful bar. Like I would call it irreplaceable. Like, and then the flames just kind of start like actually coming out of the top, and we're like, whoa, shit, dude, this thing is like, it's turning into a flamethrower. Like the chimney of this uni is just absolutely like, that's the sound the fire is making. Like the fire is just exploding out of the top. Like, and then we're like, oh fuck, what do we do? Like there's no off button. This is a wood fire situation. Like, and it said under no circumstances should you wet it, which later I was like, what? I mean, even if people are going to die, you just shouldn't spray it down with a water hose. Like I was fully prepared to just spray this shit with water, but it just seemed like there was no controlling it. And so it got really, really like, I'm sitting there watching this being like, oh my God, this shed is going to burn down. Like we bought this as the like final present to be like, congratulations, it's finished. Happy anniversary. Let's kick off summer with like a really fun pizza party. And we'll show you how to use it. And then we burn the shit down. We didn't actually burn it down, but it did turn into like an emergency situation. Like there was so much fire coming out of all sides of the uni that the stack, which is made of stainless steel, the like, I don't know, chimney, it starts turning like, like it looked like liquid. I was like, is this barely even a solid? Like it looked like it was just liquid, like shimmering pale pink, red, orange metal. Like when you see people forging swords in the Game of Thrones times. Like it was just so fucking hot. I was freaking out. I'm like, we got to get this thing out from under this plywood, you know, lined shed. Like if this thing goes up in flames, I don't think I can ever face my family again. So my dad and Jeremy, they get gloves and grab the uni, which is a 3-legged contraption that looks like a little pizza oven. I'm sure you've all seen it, but it's not like it has 4 legs. It has 3. So it's like this triangular kind of awkward to hold, and it's molten hot lava on fire. Like it is so hot. I'm like, if anybody falls getting this thing out of the shed and onto the ground where it can just burn itself out, you know, that's what we call in the restaurant industry, change your life hot. That's some people say behind you. Some people say hot behind you. If it's something that's gonna, you know, you're gonna need a skin graft for, you say, change your life hot. Hot behind you, change your life hot. So this was change your life hot without a doubt. And so Jeremy grabs the front 2 legs, my dad grabs the back, and somehow they get it out and set it down on the pool deck and just let this fucking flamethrower just spew fire out of the top until it runs out of, you know, the quart container worth of fuel that we put in at one time. The story is happy. I thought we destroyed the oven. Turns out they're made for that kind of temperatures. Maybe not that kind of temperatures, but they're made for fire. So it was okay. All's well that ends well. Like we figured it out. We learned that you definitely do not load that much pellets in it. But I'm just curious, if you're out there and you have an uni, did you almost burn it down? Like, is this a common user error? Did you also see the YouTube video that encouraged you to just absolutely fill up the stack with flammable wood pellets? Or did you read the directions and watch the Uni official YouTube channel videos instead of the first one that came up on YouTube? Because I felt extremely foolish in a way, but also was like, I mean, would they make something that's this dangerous that could be used in such a dangerous way? It just goes to show you that anything can be dangerous if you don't know what the fuck you're doing. But we got the pizza oven all situated. The next day we had it back inside the cook shed because it turns out it doesn't throw out 5-foot flames if you just, you know, use it as directed. So we got through it. We made some beautiful pizza pies. We had an amazing Memorial Day weekend. And as I'm always on here, like telling you about my secret Southern lifestyle, while we're talking about that, I had a taste for the classic, I don't know if you guys call it this, but we call it chocolate delight. It's a pecan shortbread layer, and then it's a whipped cream cheese. I think it's just cream cheese and sugar, like a sweetened cream cheese layer. And then it's a layer of Jello chocolate pudding, and then it's a layer of Jello vanilla pudding, and then it's a layer of Cool Whip with chocolate shavings on top. and you put it into a casserole dish and let it chill. And it is one of the most satisfying things you can eat. In a lot of ways, it tastes like a not fancy pot de creme or pot de creme, or I don't know how much of an asshole you are, but it's, a custard, a little, a homemade pudding, but it's not homemade because it's Jell-O. But it made me think, because after I could not stop eating it, like I literally was like, all right, I'll have like a bite. I'll have a couple spoonfuls. And then it just turned into me like shoveling it into my face with like the serving spoon, not even like a regular spoon, like just a full on, like this got to be a half a cup of pudding and Cool Whip at one time. But my middle son, Luca, loved it so much because ever since he was little, old enough to like get himself up to the table, if there's a cake or something that's frosted on the counter, if you don't watch it closely, you'll find these little finger marks, like swipes all throughout the cake, and it's Luca. And he does not give a fuck if it's like a wedding cake. Like he's destroyed cakes just with these like raking his fingers all across the frosting. At least 3 times that I can think of where it's been like I have to apologize situation and be like, I am so sorry. That is really gross. And I'm sorry that happened. I'm sorry you spent so much time on this cake. And now my son's raking his fingers across it when nobody was looking. But Luca loves frosting is the takeaway there. And Luca, because I don't really think he's ever had anything like that. So he thought that the pudding was basically just a bunch of different frostings, which was how he described it. He was like, this cookie with all this frostings on it is amazing. And so, yeah, I was like, Luca, you really hit the nail on the head. People just want to eat a shortbread cookie covered in multiple different frosting textures or pudding textures or whatever you want to call it. But highly recommend pudding as a summertime dessert. Wow, so good. And speaking of Cutico, they take a key lime pie, like pudding sort of thing with crumble on top. It's not really a pie. It's just like literally key lime pudding or filling, and then crumbled graham cracker, like crust and butter goodness on top. And they keep theirs in the freezer. That's their like hot tip. They sell it in the fridge, but every time I go in there, they're like, pop this in the freezer. And it's like a frozen custard. And it was, I mean, I spooned out, a couple cupfuls of chocolate delight and put it in the freezer and then put the kids to bed and then came out and ate it later. And I was like, man, one of these days I'm going to make from scratch pot de creme or pudding, budino, whatever you want to call it, whatever your preferred cuisine is, but it's all pudding to me. And make a trifle essentially with a homemade budino or pudding and put it in the fridge and then put it in the freezer and be your own summertime by the pool hero, because it's just, man, they call it chocolate delight because you know what it is? It's a fucking delight. There's other flavors besides chocolate, but I guess that's the prominent one. But yeah, that is a classic Southern treat and something that I can't recommend enough poolside when you're like trying to just sort of calm down from nearly burning your parents' shed to the ground. Yeah, we had a time. We all laughed about it later, but only my dad and me and Jeremy were out there when the fire was happening, and we tried to explain it to people later. And they were just kind of like, oh boy, yeah, it shot out some flames. And I was like, I don't think you're getting it. I don't think you understand the severity of like how dangerous and unstoppable this fire was. But we're all okay, and we live to see another day. And yeah, so I think, a homemade pizza followed up by, gosh, a chocolate delight. Bonus points to you if you go for the homemade version. You can't beat it. It's a summertime feast, and it was the perfect way to like hang by the pool for Memorial Day. But that said, I hope you have an amazing weekend. I hope your holiday weekend was great. It's my little sister's birthday. It was yesterday, so I want to give a shout out to her. Happy birthday, Maddie. You're just an absolute chocolate delight to me. She's not made of chocolate, but she is a delight. And we made her a burnt basque cheesecake. It was just, man, it was indulgent, hot fiery weekend. And I'm probably going to just chill and do nothing this weekend. Sometimes the holidays, they can feel like their own work day, especially if you're like me. I mean, that is my favorite thing to do. You know, this is to plan a meal and like spend a weekend just like making a bunch of delicious food. But then sometimes you're like, man, I forgot to take a nap, which was the whole point of the weekend. So that's my plan for this weekend. The kids are finishing up with camp today, so we're going to kick it. And they've had the best time. Man, speaking of camp, I had to pack them lunches. That's a first, because if you've listened to the show for any amount of time, you know that I homeschool my kids. So I don't ever pack lunches, but I've really enjoyed it. I think in another life, I would be like a cool school mom. I'm not going to be, because my kids don't go to school and we just like make them eat whatever we're having for lunch. But if I had to pack a lunch, like I found myself really, really enjoying it and like trying to add something in there that would surprise them. And then also trying to figure out the puzzle of like, what is delicious, what is nutritious, what's going to keep them fueled all day long. And then I got some fun, little notes that I stuck in there, and it's just cool to see them getting bigger and like doing shit on their own, taking their lunches and going to camp. It made me a little misty eyed, and it made me want to like soak up the summer with them, because summer is in full swing now. And it's like in fast forward, everything is happening so fast and they're growing so quickly. And, so I'm just going to be trying to, do less and hang out with them and have a beautiful, fun summer. And I hope you do too. I'm not saying I'm not going to see you all summer. This isn't goodbye for the school year. See you next year type of situation. I'll see you next week. But that's what we did this week. Good luck to you. Don't burn your fucking sheds down. Please read the directions if you're doing anything with fire. Let me know if you make a chocolate delight from scratch. And rate and review the show. You guys. Also, last little note. Thank you for all of the sweet feedback about Mare's show last week. If you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to it. Mare's absolutely the best. I had such a fun time talking to her and having a guest on the show. And yeah, go check it out. It's the one right before this. As soon as you finish playing this, it'll probably like kick it down and then just start playing Mare's episode. So just let it happen. I'll see you next week. Bye, bye, bye.